The cycle of poverty is a complex issue that keeps people trapped in a vicious cycle of low incomes and poor opportunities. It's a problem that spans generations, trapping families in a never-ending cycle of hardship. But what exactly is the cycle of poverty, and how can it be broken? If you're curious as to why most people never break free from the cycle of poverty, listen on. Stay tuned as we address in this video how the cycle of poverty keeps the people poor. There's a variety of factors when combined perpetuate the cycle of poverty. The repeated action is why people refer to it as a cycle. In order to break the cycle of poverty, I'll talk now about the many things that keep it going. Number 1. Raising living costs, but the same wage lead to poverty. In many parts of the world, a lack of wage growth combined with the increasing costs of living can lead to poverty. As costs increase for groceries, rent, transportation, and other necessities, people who make low wages may find it difficult to keep up with these increases. This often leads to having to choose between paying bills or buying food and other necessary items. In addition to simply not having enough money to meet their basic needs, people also risk being evicted from their homes for failing to pay rent. This situation is unsustainable as people at the low end of the income scale can't keep up with the rising costs without any additional income. Governments and local governments need to address this issue by looking at ways to increase wages and provide financial support so that people in these situations have access to resources that enable them to survive financially. Then number 2, a lot of people have a bad or no credit score, which is a reason for the poverty cycle. The credit score is a 3-digit number that plays an important role in determining financial well-being. Unfortunately, circumstances such as being laid off from work or dealing with sudden illness can result in a bad credit score. As a result, individuals find it difficult to get access to banking services and traditional loans. This deepens the poverty cycle for those already living paycheck to paycheck or below the poverty line. The economic hardship caused by a low credit score means no access to basic necessities, including food and housing, creating even greater challenges for those struggling financially. It is essential for lawmakers to understand the implications of having a bad credit score in order to develop policies and practices designed to help break out of this vicious cycle. As if those two things were not enough, the debt traps make the poverty even worse because people then buy things they can't afford. The unfortunate truth is that debt traps make the already pervasive problem of poverty significantly worse. When people buy things they can't afford, even small purchases, these items begin to add up over time to large amounts of repayment obligations. The payments for these items are often steep due to heavy interest rates, which leave people with few options for relief from their debts. Furthermore, those stuck in debt traps faced with true financial emergencies often cannot access the resources needed to resolve them, making their situation even worse. This cycle of debt helps entrap and keep people living in poverty as they struggle to pay back what they owe. A lot of time, people in poverty cycles also invest in stuff more than in themselves. Poverty cycles have been studied extensively, but few realize that people in these situations often make misaligned investment decisions. Instead of investing in themselves and their futures through education or specialized skill building opportunities, they are more likely to focus on acquiring goods and possessions. This behavior can be explained by a phenomenon known as reactionary consumption, which is when people who feel limited in their decision-making processes attempt to assert control over their lives by purchasing material items. As this pattern often perpetuates low levels of economic stability, an alternative emphasis on developing self-sufficiency skills for those in poverty cycles remains critically important. And then, once in a poverty cycle, unexpected expenses seem never-ending. For those living in poverty, unexpected expenses can have a crippling effect on their quality of life and financial stability. Unexpected medical costs, the dire need of a car repair to keep a job, or an unforeseen home repair can become large unmanageable expenses that are difficult to recover from. Such costs create what is known as a poverty cycle, consisting of debt compounded by limited access to healthcare, nutrition, and other resources, making it much harder to extricate oneself from the cycle of poverty. This cycle further entrenches the family's struggle with poverty and makes attempting to climb out of such circumstances increasingly difficult. Fortunately, there are resources available to those facing such adversity, who are willing and able to pursue them. Understanding how unexpected expenses contribute to the poverty cycle is the first step towards finding solutions that can help reduce its devastating effects. Mostly when people are already in this poverty cycle, they even more lose track of their finances. People caught in this cycle can start to lose sight of their finances and fail to see opportunities for improvement. They may limit how much they save, struggle to maintain paying bills regularly, or even neglect responsible spending practices such as budgeting or creating an emergency fund. Awareness of this dynamic is key, as only by understanding what happens when people are stuck in the poverty cycle can it be battled effectively. Once inside a poverty cycle, people don't have a money plan and don't think about getting one because it seems hopeless. People who find themselves trapped in a poverty cycle are often without a money plan to make significant changes. Even though they may live paycheck to paycheck, they do not have enough saved up to create an emergency fund or make investments that would provide economic security. With little access to financial literacy education and resources, most of these individuals lack the knowledge of how to properly manage their finances, resulting in short-term solutions instead of long-term gains. This perpetuates the poverty cycle, robbing generations of financial prosperity. People caught within the poverty trap need support, both tangible and intangible, in order to get back on the road to financial stability. And finally, the people who are already trapped in this cycle of poverty still have to live. This includes, for example, their vehicle, which costs a lot of money. Expensive vehicles can be a major setback for individuals and families trying to break out of the poverty cycle. With high sticker prices, regular maintenance, fuel costs, and insurance bills, it can become a difficult financial expense that swallows up money that could otherwise be used for food or rent or other necessities. However, expensive vehicles are sometimes necessary in order to access certain opportunities or jobs. When there is no public transportation available, or it's simply too uncomfortable to travel long distances by bike, vehicle ownership is the only real option. They may be costly, but they're sometimes as necessary as school tuition or medical costs. They just need to be budgeted accordingly and planned out carefully by their owners. You see, a lot of different factors keep people in the cycle of poverty. So the most important question now is, how to break the poverty cycle? Breaking the poverty cycle requires more than the provision of short-term financial resources. Rather, it necessitates an investment in sustainable advancement methods tailored to each unique community. This includes creating job opportunities and teaching critical skills such as financial literacy and money management as two ways of maximizing success. Additionally, prioritizing education and providing support systems that build strong families are also key components to this process. When people are given access to correct information and resources that encourage long-term development, they can create a prosperous future for themselves while breaking the generational cycle of poverty. Poverty is a vicious cycle that's hard to break free from. If you're struggling with poverty, it's important to understand the factors that keep you trapped, as we mentioned in this video. It's also essential to have a plan and focus on investing in yourself. Now we're at the end of this video. If you got value from this video, you'll also like this video. Thanks for spending time with us.